In 1703, Peter the Great founded St. Petersburg, the capital of the Russian Empire for over 3 centuries. That same year, he started construction of the Peter and Paul Fortress to protect the new city. The first palace built in the city was the rather modest Summer Palace, which today is a museum on the daily life of Peter the Great. But his most spectacular construction was his last, Peterhof Palace. The marshy land was transformed into a grand cascade that empties out into the Baltic Sea, a physical symbol of his power over the land. But let's go back to the beginning. Peter was born in Moscow on June 9th, 1672, the youngest son of Tsar Alexis, who died when Peter was just 9 years old. His older brother, Fyodor III, then reigned for just 6 years, though he managed to introduce some meritocracy to the country. Peter succeeded as co-ruler with his mentally incapacitated brother Ivan V under the regency of their sister Sophia. In 1689, 17-year-old Peter overthrew his sister, locked her in a convent, and became sole ruler upon the death of his brother Ivan in 1696. That same year, Peter captured the port of Azov during the Great Turkish War and founded the Russian Navy. The following year, he embarked on a grand embassy across Europe to learn about their new technologies. Over a year later, he rushed back home to put down a revolt of the Streltsy, the troops who had attacked his mother's family and supported his sister Sophia. He replaced them with the Preobrazhensky Guard. He divorced his conservative wife Eudoxia Lupudina, who had supported the Streltsy, and she ended up dying in the same monastery as his sister Sophia. She would be the last native Russian Tsarina. The next year, he introduced the Julian calendar, and in 1703 he founded Russia's first newspaper. He ordered the Civil Script, a reform of the Russian orthography largely designed by himself. In 1709, he won the Battle of Pultowa, ending Sweden's status as a great power and marking the beginning of Russian supremacy in Eastern Europe. It was through these military victories in the Great Northern War that he was able to expand Russia to St. Petersburg. In 1711, he founded the governing Senate to replace the Boyar Duma. On October 25th of that year, his son and heir Alexei married Charlotte of Brunswick-Wolfenbüttel. It was a good match. 2 weeks earlier, her older sister Elizabeth had become Holy Roman Empress, cementing the alliance between Austria and Russia against the Ottoman Turks. But the marriage failed personally. She fled her alcoholic husband to return to her homeland, eventually being coaxed back by her father-in-law, and died in childbirth in 1715. A rumor that she faked her death to live with her lover in France was turned into a novella. Meanwhile, her widower, Tsarevich Alexei, also ran away to Vienna to live with his mistress Afrosinya. But upon his return, he was tortured on his father's own orders and died of his injuries in 1718 in the Peter and Paul Fortress. In 1724, Peter founded the Russian Academy of Sciences and the St. Petersburg State University. He died the following year and was buried in the Peter and Paul Cathedral he had built. All but 2 Russian emperors and empresses were buried in this cathedral, including the last one, Nicholas II, in 1998. In January 1919, during the Russian Revolution, 4 Grand Dukes were executed by the Bolsheviks in the Peter and Paul Fortress. But while the Romanovs died and were buried in the Peter and Paul Fortress, many married in the Peterhof Palace. Weddings included those of Russian Grand Duchesses Catherine of Oldenburg and Queen Olga of Württemberg, as well as those of Grand Dukes Peter and Ivan, who married Princesses Milica of Montenegro and Helena of Serbia, respectively. Furthermore, all but the eldest of Tsar Nicholas II's children were born in the Peterhof Palace. As was his sister Olga, his other sister Xenia was also married in the palace. The legacy of Peter the Great and his family lives on in the Peter and Paul Fortress and the Peterhof Palace, which are both major tourist attractions in St. Petersburg today.